Okay.
Paul,
Now,
thank you so much for doing this. It's really it's an honor to have you. I know we're going to have you back later on once your book is completed and published and ready to go. We'll be thrilled to do that. But tonight it's all about Ukraine, so it's all yours, dear. Off we go.
okay, hello everybody. This is Paula Bronstein. It's been a while since I did my last projection, but it's always a pleasure with Frank. He does a wonderful job with this, and I'm very happy to talk about Ukraine again. So tonight, what we're going to do is talk about what it's like to cover Ukraine going into the fifth year of war. You're going to see a variety of work. A lot of it's going to be features. Why is that? I mean, really, it's what I love to do, number one. Number two, because I always look at the human side of stories. We are starting with funerals, but funerals is an it's just an unfortunate part of war that we as photojournalists have to cover, and there's no way of getting away from that. And after that, I'll continue to tell you as we go into subject by subject. But what you're going to see really, I think, is nice from the perspective of what I do. It's different from what I used to do when I first started covering the war in Ukraine. Well, the full-scale invasion since 2022. It's different because now we have a full-scale drone war. Okay, we had the full-scale war in 2022. Now we have a full-scale drone war. What does that mean? It means access is extremely difficult. Even when you embed with the military, you could get stuck there for days until it's safe to leave. But it's just dealing with all the precautions of working in a drone war is very, very difficult. So let's move on here as we talk about the funerals. This is a funeral from this year, from the anniversary. Uh, so that, that's not that long ago, of course, all of you know that, as we're going into the Fifth War. And one thing that was important to cover was a funeral on the anniversary.
Right,
So you can imagine, right?
right.
But this is just an unfortunate everyday occurrence. And some families do want to bury their loved ones on the anniversary.
Oh, they do.
So it's very important to cover an anniversary. I was in the town of Bucha. I was in Bucha for a reason to cover the anniversary. You all know why. There's memorials that happen every year over the anniversary. And so, yes, this funeral happened.
Hmm.
This is a photo from a funeral.
Right. Not on the.
Uh, I wanted to bring it in. It's also in my upcoming book, but it's just something to note that you never know what's going to happen in front of your camera. You just never know. And as you can see, the light is coming in from the back, and it hit the cross that the priest is holding. And this was a very small church. You can see the framed photo of the deceased person who died on his way to work in Kiev. And so this was outside of Kiev in a very small church, and there was no other media there.
Right.
Uh, and so when his face is illuminated by the light that's hitting this cross, I kept on shooting, but I at the time was saying, "What?"
Right. I mean, how does that happen, Paul? Oh my God.
Yeah, and you can see that the cross is lit up. It's actually, the light from the window is coming in, and he is holding the cross so close to his face
Mm.
that reflection, that the light just bounced right into his face. You
Mm.
know, this is how it really looked when I sent the image to Getty Images. I was on assignment for Getty that day. When I sent the photo to Getty, I said, "This is it. Okay?
Done.
Don't ask me about this photo. I'm telling you, there's nothing that has been done to this photo. This is really what happened.
Mm.
And I've
And
been
while
to,
you take that, Paula, while you take that photograph in that moment, I mean, you recognize at that moment, this is unbelievable.
it's unbelievable. And I'm not a very religious person. Um, and it doesn't matter that I'm Jewish. It's the fact that when something like this happens, it's extremely spiritual.
Yeah,
And it's spiritual to any photographer who's taking this picture because it's something that is just happening.
right.
And it's a spiritual moment. And I believe that there's a reason why it happened. I really do. I really
Yeah.
believe there's a reason why that happened. And there's a reason why I was supposed to see it because I
Yeah.
didn't have to really move my camera or anything. It was just, again, right in front of me. So this is why you wanted to, starting out with funerals, but then we move on. This is a funeral that that was from last year. It was a funeral for um, three children who died uh, in a village about 45 minutes from Kiev, but it was just a horrific story. Horrific, absolutely horrific. Three young
Mm.
children from one family.
Phew.
And, I can show you a number of photos from military funerals, but so far you're seeing civilian, military. That's a military cemetery in Kharkiv. It's important to show both civilian.
Mm.
And again, this is from the same funeral. You can see the three rather small caskets. He was the oldest of the three that was killed. And there's just no way of not feeling something when you're covering something, covering like this. And I am obviously above the open caskets. Um, and we were allowed to do that. There was a lot of media covering this particular funeral because it was such a big, big story.
Right.
And there's a couple of photos here from 19-year-olds that were killed. These are both military funerals. This one, which is another photo that is in my book in the Ukraine chapter. But the whole point of the story is these are 19-year-olds. Okay? They're not they're not, 29-year-olds, they're 19.
Yeah,
And
boys. Mm.
yeah, to die that early in your life,
Mm.
fighting for your country. So that's a young soldier, and we have actually a young female soldier, also 19. And you can see by the look by her portrait, it's
Yeah.
just a kid, just a kid.
Yeah, you could also tell how young these other boys are who are carrying the coffin. They're all kids.
Yep, yep. Yeah, so 19, that means that they volunteered.
Mm.
They are not mobilized at that age. That's an impossibility. So I just wanted to make that perfectly clear to the audience. Okay.
Yeah.
25 and up, they can be mobilized. More photos from, mostly small towns where people parade down the street during a funeral.
Mm.
This is actually the funeral for the 19-year-old. But I really like the juxtaposition of the
Mm.
mourners who are all young. You can see every single one of them is in their 20s. Maybe just the one guy with the mirror, every single one of them is just, you know, and their
Off.
friend,
Yeah.
is now gone. And this was a 6-year-old child who
Mm.
was killed in Chernihiv.
Yeah, Paul, do you get a sense like are you able to talk to these families or the friends of these families to, get more background on the situations, the kids who they were?
Um, Unfortunately, so what ended up happening is the following, especially when it's civilians. When it's military, it's very, very different.
Mm,
If it's a young, if it's a young soldier who was killed, like the ones we just looked at, um, yeah, yeah, they volunteered and they gave, you know, they paid the ultimate price. But um, the families, you know, to lose a child that young, in this case, where this is from an attack that happened in a city 2.5 hours from Kiev.
right.
The mother is by the coffin. Obviously, she survived, but her child did not.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's wrong place, wrong time, and the parent survived and the child does not, and that's another horror. So you asked me, do you get to talk to them? Not right after the fact.
Right.
I think, news outlets like whatever, the New York Times or whatever, if they're piecing together the story after the fact, maybe then there's time to talk to the
Mm,
family, but not when they're going through the worst nightmare of their lives. I mean, there's
yeah.
just no possible way. The trauma and
Mm.
just it's unthinkable. So, um, you know, this photo for me was kind of like a painting because everybody's holding candles, including the priest. Yes, it's in the cathedral in Chernihiv. And you can see the mother with the baby carriage kneeling down on her, and another mother with her young daughter.
So this is when they stop during the day at a particular time or a funeral is passing.
A funeral is passing.
Yeah.
But I mean, this for me is like just the mother kneeling down with, with the baby carriage there and another mother with a young daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is as the funeral is coming by. And that was a 19-year-old. She
Mm,
actually had an open casket. You rarely see an open casket these days
yeah. And
because
why
of
is that, Paula?
uh, drone war.
Oh,
There's two key reasons. Drone war is one, and it's taking too long to get the bodies back. So this is a tribute. A tribute sometimes is with flares, which is really, really nice. Um, Sometimes it's because the soldier was also a football player, a soccer player.
mm,
And this is part of what it's a very, it's a nice kind of an added tribute.
right.
Other players may hold flares as well.
Mm,
And this really was touching for me inside the church. It was the child was crying inside the church. This was the family of three that were killed, three children that were killed. He knew one of the children, it turns out.
one of his buddies. Mm,
Yeah, but he's working next to the priest inside the church and he's crying.
yeah.
So now we're moving on to something more sort of happy days here. I've covered a number of schools in Kiev and Kharkiv, underground schools, military academies. This is first day of school. This is a photo I really love because on the first during the first days of school, I went to a music academy, and there was a 3 hour, not a 1 hour, a 3 hour air alert. And that means that all the students have to go to the shelter. They cannot come out of the shelter. They are in there. And it's crowded and it's cramped and they're kids and they want to get the heck out of there.
And what is the motivation to pivot to covering schools? What made you do that?
Lots of times well, there's a number of reasons. There's different feature stories.
Okay.
I've done two different stories on underground schools. Most of them are in Kharkiv.
Right.
Underground schools is something that nobody in the United States or Europe has ever heard of. But this is really a smart way for the children to continue their education safely. They created completely underground schools. So that's
Wow.
one type of feature story that not just myself, but a lot of media are drawn to. Okay. This is like what happens when kids are in a shelter for 3 hours. You know what I mean? They go
Mhm.
crazy. So there's all sorts of stories about schools. Why? Because children go to school every day during wartime. So you have to cover daily life. You have
Right.
to cover daily life. Okay? And this is all down in a shelter, all of these pictures right now. And it gets
Mm.
pretty funny and pretty cute. And then the older kids are like, ah, at least they have Wi-Fi down there. But that's what the shelter looked like.
Mm.
So the teacher's trying to play games with them. That's finally when they're out of the shelter in class. Here we have underground school. You can see the very low ceiling.
Mm.
That tells you they're underground in a, you know, so underground, you're gonna be at least 1 to 2 floors down.
Right.
Okay.
And when this is, Paula?
When was that shot? That was shot last day of school in Kharkiv, the second
What?
largest city in Ukraine.
Yeah, like what year is this?
Oh, last year.
Last year. Okay.
Yeah, last day of school, so that would have been
Right.
June last year. Both of these are last day of school. You can see how low that ceiling is. And that
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah. Now
tells you a
you
lot about, the fact that they're underground.
right.
I mean, I've done underground schools in Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, more recently Zaporizhia. This is Zaporizhia. Zaporizhia is a city pretty far south and very close to the front line. And um, uh, the air alert is on constantly,
Yeah.
constantly. So these kids, you can see again, the structure that they are underground. The lights are kind of crazy, but again, you know, and this is, we stayed for the entire day for normal class. Gym, this is their gym, okay? This is it.
Mm.
You could say, wow, that's tough for kids. But if you live in Zaporizhia, guess what? It's better than
Right.
no gym. And when it's nice and warm out and there's no air alert, of course, the kids are outside playing. But
Ev-
they
ev- Yeah, everyone finds a way, right? You have to find a way to get on.
well, the kids have to go to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Education has to continue.
Yeah.
Life has to go on. And this is why the media is covering schools, especially, as I said, underground schools. But yeah, as you can see, kids are being kids.
Yeah.
And this is a ballet school I visited for a day or so in
Mhm.
Kiev because it was the best one in the country. And this story was more, before the full-scale invasion, I would say more people around the world knew more about the Russian ballet than the Ukrainian ballet. But the fact is that Ukrainian ballet is quite extraordinary. And so these young students, that's their dream. That's it. And this is the best school in the country for ballet. So this is sort of a feature on that.
Right. And who, at this point, you're working for Getty or you're on your own, you know,
I usually, when I'm doing features like this, I pitch it to Getty for an assignment, and then I'm on assignment for the time it takes me to do the story. But sometimes I'm working for other clients. The Zaporizhia Underground School story was shot for UK newspaper, the Sunday Times.
right.
So it's the Times and the Sunday Times, not New York Times, and it's a UK newspaper, actually one of the largest in the country. And military academy, also extremely important. But the news peg on this had to do with Zelensky changing the rule about students being able to learn certain military instruction in school.
Mm.
Now, these military academies existed anyways, but here was an opportunity, here was a news peg. So I got permission to shoot in the military academy.
Mm. Eventually, they fit into those hats, right? These kids.
Yeah, eventually. But I really loved it, actually. It was really great. It was a great day. I spent, I think, 2 different days there.
Yeah, they're all proud.
Yeah, well, a lot of them, their fathers are in the service.
Mm.
This is no joke. They want to be able to learn how to hold the gun, not use it, but this is
Mm.
so when you get back to what was the news peg, there's always a news peg, Frank.
Right.
Just how you when you just the timing of doing the story.
And at a military academy, can you see and feel the difference in the kids versus a normal school?
Oh
Um,
yeah, look at
yeah,
the way they're marching. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah. This only happens in a military academy.
right,
No, this only happens in a military academy.
mm,
So now we're into something totally different.
right,
Fashion Week. Yeah, that's right. So I was on assignment, again, I just pitched it to Getty Images because Kiev Fashion Week is a big, big deal. Ukrainian designers are very talented designers, and you could be in Paris, you could be anywhere,
mm,
but the story's in Kiev, and it's a really well covered story.
right,
And it's an important story. Again, it's not just about fashion, but
right,
it's about adaptive fashion. What do I mean by adaptive fashion? Now you're looking at it.
right,
Designers are designing dresses and clothing for amputees.
right.
Pretty incredible, huh? But
Yeah,
this is really Ukrainian because Ukrainian people adapt and are so innovative. That's why we're hearing all the stories about, you know, the interceptor drones, them selling now them producing drones that are being sold all over the Middle East, and Zelensky's been traveling all over the place doing big, big deals with Middle East country. Really, it is the story.
right.
But it's all about Ukrainians, how they adapt
Yeah,
to
right.
to to war, and the designers are doing the same thing, fashion designers.
No, no. You've got to
So
go on, right? The resilience is unbelievable. Really is
the
unbelievable.
resilience, and also they're so damn smart. I'm not saying, I just don't see the US ever would have been able to do anything like, you know, they were, Ukraine were so dependent on the United States for weapons, for Patriot missiles, et cetera, et cetera. And then they just started to innovate and develop on their own.
Right.
So,
Mm,
we go back to, um, obviously dresses that are above the knee work very well for women who have amputations.
right.
But I had really good access, and so for me, it was all about backstage access. And as you can see there, his his hand is gone. He has a bionic, it's like a bionic prosthetic.
Yep. And I mean, can you speak to at all, Paul, how this is the new normal? There will always be part of their society, people who went to war and have some issue, right, with an amputee arm, leg, whatever it may be, and it becomes sort of the new normal for them.
Well, it's the new normal, Frank, because uh, because of what happens in war and how many soldiers have, and not just military, of course,
Right.
civilians lose limbs too, but just the high volume of limb loss and amputees. It's just unbelievable.
Hmm. Eh,
Um, so I don't think it's ever going to be normal, but is it normal for Ukraine? Yes. Do they
Right.
have to also continue to innovate to provide for the handicapped? To what does that mean? That means, uh, handicapped access, something that's very, very commonplace in the United States. They have to continue to innovate to
Mhm.
provide better access for all of these people.
Right. Yeah.
But I will tell you one thing, prosthetics are so advanced now.
Right.
When I'm in Kyiv, whatever, and I see, you know, men walking in a park, whatever, they are walking normally. They have a
Right.
normal
So,
stride. They have a normal stride, and so the technology is getting better and better, and
right.
that is allowing people to recover.
Integrate normally, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So
not an outcast.
yeah. So just moving on. So another subject. I'm not a sports photographer, but I do come from American newspapers, and what did that mean? That meant that I learned how to shoot sports.
There you go.
I shot sports for quite some time when I was a staff photographer at
Yeah.
newspapers.
Yeah. So, Paula, is this sort of therapeutic for you to be going, as you're shooting completely different topics, right?
Right.
Does that help you just in the context of covering this ongoing war?
Um, I mean, for me, I think it's hard to continue to come up with subjects
Mm,
that editors are interested in. Every, look at every subject who's been done. Okay.
right. Yeah.
Okay. Have people photographed amputee soccer before amputee football in Europe? Yes.
Right.
But this is a tournament, and that was what I pitched to Getty. It's a tournament. And it's a tournament where 10 different teams, only amputees, are trying out for this tournament. So I shot in Kharkiv and in Kiev, practice and stuff. But all the real pictures came from the tournament. And the tournament was in Western Ukraine. So, you're looking at these guys. Do you understand how difficult it is to do what they're doing?
My
Yes.
God.
Yeah. So they have less body weight than you or me because they have a loss of limb. So that loss of limb is less body weight, okay? But don't make any mistake, this is damn hard.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so this is before the game. Of course, I got in, obviously. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Mm.
Uh, before
And,
the tournament.
and all these guys were former players.
No, some were not.
So, okay.
Some were not. So you're going to see guys with all types of bodies, okay?
Right.
And different ages. This is not a normal soccer team. This is a this is an adaptive team. And again, yeah, some guys were really, really good at it before they lost their leg. And
Right.
now they're so happy. It's like they're so freaking happy. They're doing it again.
Right.
And, it makes them feel normal.
Yeah. Makes it, and dare I say, for the viewer, it makes it easier to see people with being an amputee. Yeah.
Right.
It just becomes normal. Yeah. Or
Yeah. I mean,
normal.
these two players here, they both lost the same leg, and both of them have a high amputation. So an amputation above the knee is very different from an amputation below the knee.
Yeah.
I don't care who you interview. If you've interviewed like war photographers that also have
Right.
amputation. Giles Dooley is a very well-known photographer who's a triple amputee. But, below the knee amputation means you have so much agility. Above the knee, it's a whole different level of balance. So you can see, a lot of these guys have very high amputations. So I just think it's freaking amazing what they're doing. It's so amazing.
Right.
And then you can see here the guy lost his he has both legs but his arm. So to play amputee soccer, you have to have lost a limb. Doesn't matter whether it's a leg or an arm.
Right.
And I hadn't shot when I did this tournament. I hadn't shot sports in a while. So here I am thinking, oh Jesus.
Yeah, and how does it work, Paula, with you going to Getty pitching a story? Do you pitch more than one at a time? Is the time period to get an approval or a decline very long? How does that like those mechanics work?
I'd say it depends how big the story. If it's a 2-day shoot, if it's very straightforward, let's just say, I say, okay, I want to cover this tournament. This is where it's going to be. So obviously they can assess pretty quickly the expenses involved in covering the story.
And the
And
value?
they
Yeah.
are they are a newswire, so that does matter.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and they can pretty much assess, will this do well? Will this make sales?
Right.
A story like this is no way it won't. So it's
Right.
kind of it's kind of a no-brainer. So there's to answer your question, there's certain stories when I pitch them,
You
just like
know,
it's kind of a no-brainer because the story
it's
speaks
so
for itself.
compelling. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But that's just, I was staff with him for a long time. That I kind of know the ropes a bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
Um, you know, I was happy to get this because I actually finally got a goal. I was just like I said, I'm not a sports photographer anymore. I'm just like, oh yes. I mean, Getty does have a sports department, so it's like,
What's the great photographer there? Oh, I forget his name.
oh my God, there's so many amazing sports
Al
photographers.
Bello. Al Bello.
Oh, Al Bell is extraordinary.
Yeah, yeah.
You live in Florida too? Does he live in
I
Florida?
don't know where Al lives. No, I don't know that.
The guys that have been doing what they've been doing for so long are, of course, amongst the best in the industry.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and a lot of them specialize.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they specialize, so they know their sport so well.
Where to be. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just like we specialize at certain topics, whether it's war and conflict or whatever. This was their mascot, the little kid on the right. I thought he was adorable.
God.
And these guys were such a hoot. This was the best team. This is Lviv,
Right.
uh, the most western city in Ukraine, and the top team in the country, the
Right.
top. But you can see there's different age range here, not just the kid, obviously, but these guys are.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to see like these guys must or you tell me, do they have a certain characteristic to recover? Because they all have big, fat smiles. They're all competitive. Like, what is the common denominator beforehand that got them here to really recover as much as you can, spiritually at least? The camaraderie of team.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. The team camaraderie. I mean, here you're looking at team camaraderie. They're cheer the people you can't see are the crowds. The crowd's
Right.
cheering for them. They won. They walked over to the crowd. So that's what's going on there. But this is total team. I mean, this is just like these guys are having
Yeah.
such a good time. They are
Right.
laughing, they are joking, they're all in top physical condition. You know, I mean, okay, we can see. I wanted to go back to this one because when I said that, this guy's got a bit of a belly there,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter. Everybody plays.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
guys, some guys won't run as fast as others, but the whole point of this, the way they do it is, you know, the top players will be on the field, but guys that are maybe a little bit overweight, it also gives them the incentive, to be quite honest with you, to lose weight.
Yeah. It's rehab in so many ways, right?
Right. Because obviously if they lose weight, they can run faster and they can be stronger.
Right.
Depends on their age too, Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the team that lost, obviously.
Yeah.
It was a nice story. Now we're moving on to, I'm gonna try to, I don't know what number slide I'm on here. So I don't know how much fat, because we got about 10 minutes left, Frank.
No,
Um,
you tell me about the time, Paul.
okay, anyways, another feature story I did was on the elderly and how they're coping with being displaced, their IDPs, internally displaced.
Right.
And so I shot this story in Kharkiv,
Right.
just over a couple days. But it was really important kind of at the time to look at this issue. I looked at this issue before. It was one of the first stories I did working in Ukraine, going back to 2018, 2019. I did a big, huge grant project on the elderly in Ukraine. And we covered them. At that point, we could go to all these different parts of Ukraine that were along the line of control. We covered like 500 kilometers along the line of control. All these areas that you can't go now, they're all Russian occupied areas. That was 2018 and 19 when I did that story. So it was nice to take a look at it again. It had been a while. And a lot of these elderly people, it's a story I want to go back to again. Uh, uh, for a number of reasons. But of course, these elderly people have problems with dementia. They have huge anxiety issues leaving their homes that they'll probably never go back to again. Uh, Usually the elderly are the last to leave, even when the situation is in a dire, just unthinkable state of no electricity, no water,
Right.
and being 100% dependent on humanitarian aid being brought in. But
Mm.
when things get too dangerous, and now with the front line being completely drones, it's impossible to get to humanitarian aid in.
Mm.
So, so yeah, yeah.
Crazy. And when you say you worked on getting a grant, is that you searching out the grant or is that Getty doing it with you? Like how
No,
does
no,
that
no,
work
it's
for you?
100% me.
100% you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, just going after the grant. Yeah. So these are some of the elderly, they're in what we would call nursing homes, but they're you know of course they still smoke. It's a guy that double amputee. I just thought it was a riot every time he went outside. They couldn't smoke inside. So, um, but yeah, I saw a lot of women with dementia.
Mm.
She's a double amputee. You can't tell. You have to actually look at that photo for a few
Right.
minutes in a way to see, oh, this woman doesn't, you
Totally.
know, she's got a very, very high double amputation.
Mm.
And she has to be carried up the stairs.
Yeah. It's amazing that it's to their credit that they saved her, right?
Yes.
An elderly lady, right? They could have looked the other way. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how she lost her legs. It could have been diabetes. I'm really not sure.
Right.
It's just some of the medicine they have to take. It's a very quiet story, but I think it's important to do stories like this.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And how long did that story last for you, Paula?
Well, I shot it for Getty, because it was one of a couple of different features. I did it in Kharkiv. I think I did the underground school. Yeah, I mean, I shot for a couple of days. I got these pictures in a couple of days, so I was quite happy. Maybe maximum 3 days. So I was quite happy.
Mm.
So now we're moving on to a story that I have not finished yet. And it's been published in the US, but it was a grant project by the IWMF, International Women's Media Foundation. So I thank them very much for that grant opportunity. Now I am trying to continue it completely on my own. So that means obviously getting an assignment to continue it. But the project's called Blinded by War. So not much that needs to be explained here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the reason I need to continue it now is, I'm just looking at different subjects. He's a weightlifter. He's a blind weightlifter. And he's just about to start getting into competition. So I'd like to continue to follow him when he's in competition. And when we do stories on Blinded by War, we're looking also at eye prosthetics. And that's what these are. They're all eye prosthetics.
Mm.
Pretty fascinating, actually. And
Yeah,
here they're painting there's actually an artist who comes in volunteer, comes in to actually help with painting the eye prosthetics. So he's painting veins, and
right,
he's matching the color of the eye.
right. Fascinating.
Yeah,
But that goes to a dignity thing as well, right?
exactly. Yeah, because here one of his eyes, if we go back to this is without his prosthetic, but usually when he goes out, the
Right,
eye that already is fitted for a prosthetic, he wears it. Here you can see the fitting, and they're really matching exactly.
right.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. But it does go to, who the Ukrainian folks are, right? There's a dignity, there's a respect, there's all of that, and it pervades everything that they do.
Correct.
And some people are funny no matter what, right?
You're looking at a pretty funny guy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow.
And
So that stays on by a magnet? Is that what we're
you
looking
can
at
see
there?
the magnet in his eye.
Yeah.
You can see the magnet. Yes. Mm-hmm. He chose, he wanted to hold it. He said that he wanted all his medals that on his, pinned on his jersey when I did this portrait. But he said it was very important to hold his prosthetic
Mm,
because he didn't see the point of people seeing him sort of kind of look more normal when he's not.
right.
But that's because he's this. That's because he's this guy. This
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
he's like.
Mm, wow.
But the process, yeah, it's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Great
So,
story.
so that's him learning how to rock climb, learning how to cook, learning how to dance.
Of course.
But again, you can see in every photo, he is a hoot. He's
Right.
somebody that makes people laugh.
Easy to photograph, right?
Yeah, it makes him easy to photograph because he's always himself.
Yeah.
He can't see me anyways. He knows I'm in the room. He can't see me though. I wish he could see me. I wish, I met him before he was blinded. Um, but he's always cracking jokes. And here he's learning Braille. And here he's getting a touch up on his eye prosthetic from an artist. So yeah, we go from here to here. It's kind of I purposely did this. But
Perfect.
now we're coming to the last story, which is good, right on time. Um, um, so this is behind the scenes. I shot. I just did on totally. I don't think I did it on assignment. I just, I mean, Kiev. I was invited. I was invited to go backstage by a ballet dancer. I was like, yeah, sure, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I'd done this story back in 2022. Those pictures are not in the mix here, so this is the most recent one I did. But again, what do we see here? We see life being as
Cool.
normal as it can be.
Right.
This is
That's
just backstage.
like everyone's doing it. It feels like everyone's doing it for somebody else and for themselves. It's therapeutic for everyone, right? For the
Well,
family. Yeah.
these are, what I told you when I showed you the pictures of the ballet school.
Right.
Those young kids want to be these
Yeah.
dancers.
Right.
They want to be these professional dancers. That just like any child in the United States would
Right.
want, maybe if they're serious enough, they are going to dance school. They're doing it every single day. But that's who they want to be. That's their dream. Everybody has a dream.
Yeah.
And, for the professional dancers who live in Ukraine, if they're not living abroad, some of them did leave and went abroad so they could continue dancing in London and other cities,
Right.
without hearing air alerts and all that. But others are still in Kiev, so there you go. That's the last photo, by the way. So we are exactly on time. So you have time for a couple of questions.
Yes. No, this is absolutely wonderful. I can't thank you enough for doing this. So what's next, Paula?
Yeah. So I'm actually blinded by war story. I'm pitching it to some other publications. I'm actually going to send it to the reporter who's based out of Kiev and the photo editor. Just I need to get back to that. I need to finish it up. I am starting to work with a fixer on another story that I plan on continuing that has very much to do with this fifth year of war.
Right.
Um, to answer your question, I am setting up stories for my next trip. Um, and then, of course, the big deal part of this is I just got the final PDF to my book, Witnessing Life Retrospective. So that's my book just got the final.
And when does that book end up in your hands?
Yeah, so now that we have the final PDF, which I also shared with you, the book dummy, I should see the book dummy in a well, I don't know. I don't want to say I'll get it in a week, but the printing's in Paris, and the
Okay.
printing is very fast
Okay.
because it's in Paris and not in China and not someplace else. So I'll be able to travel to Paris for the printing. But I should be seeing the book dummy pretty soon.
That's exciting, right? I mean, that's
Yeah. But my editor's Maria Mann.
Right.
Wouldn't be able to do any of this without her. And because it's a French publisher too, everything's worked out. She speaks fluent French. That also that there's no language barriers, which is
Right.
always very important. Um,
That's great.
yes, so we're at, right now we're at the final stages. So the book will be out soon. So I'll be having, obviously there'll be a book launch at Perpignan Photo Festival for
Right.
those of you
Great.
that are attending Perpignan Photo Festival in September. But I might have some before. Depends on when the book act, when it's printed.
Right. And you'll have distribution in the States?
Yes,
Great.
yes, thank you for asking. This is kind of funny. I say it's funny because it's very French. They, I've been really pushing hard. The same publisher, they did Brent Sturton's book last year, and they're just getting onto Amazon. And I've been saying, this is really important. This is really, really important, especially for all of my American friends. And given tariffs, we do not want anything to do with the cost of sending books from France to the United States.
Right.
Hearing all the complaints about Amazon
Mm.
from the French publisher, but hopefully that is going to be happening. You know, I it's interesting to hear the complaints though from the
And
publisher.
what are they?
Cost.
It's all cost. Okay.
Yeah, but I think the tariffs have maybe caused some of this inflation.
Right.
It
Yeah.
could be, it could be, I'm guessing this, that it's more expensive to send books to the United States,
Right.
maybe
It's
less
gotta be.
expensive, maybe less expensive to export them out of the United States, like for an American publisher, like my Afghanistan book was American publisher, University of Texas Press in Austin. Maybe that's the case. I'm
Right.
not in the business, I don't know, but I get the impression
Right.
that this could be true, that this is true.
Right. Well,
And that will raise the price of the book.
there you go.
Nobody
Well,
benefits. Nobody benefits.
right.
Uh, 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 my first book, the price, quite often on Amazon, the price went lower than the price on the University of Texas Press site
Right. Mm,
because
yeah,
Amazon could do that.
right. Yeah.
But
Well,
we don't know, in this world of
who knows what? Yeah.
well, with the tariffs, it's been a problem for a lot of businesses. Let's.
Leave it there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we leave it there. But
Well,
anyways,
I thank you so much for
it's a
doing
wrap.
this. I thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I know, everyone's running and going and traveling and deadlines and all that. So I appreciate that. Once you have the book, we'll set up a date and we'll do a projections on the entire book, and we'll bring donuts and coffee, and we'll go through the night and do a whole
I think
telethon.
I
We'll
think
go-
I assume we're offline now.
No, we're not.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
But
The
thank you.
book is so damn big. We won't be able to go through the whole book. You and I will have to pick and choose. It's just, it's, you've already looked at the book. It's kind of a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
But it's all special. So with that, Paula, thank you so much. We'll be in touch, and you know, again, thank you.
No, it's my pleasure, and I'm glad that when I decided to pick a lot of different features, I thought, everybody's seen. Let's put it this way: I just felt very strongly that everybody's seen the incredible dynamic photos right after an attack.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, you gave us the
and
unique
I
stuff.
didn't need to show those tonight. I didn't need to show those. I wanted to show this is what I do. This is what I love doing.
Paula, thank you. We'll
My
be in
pleasure.
touch. All right, hon.
Okay, bye-bye.